Hey guys, Sinister here at On Point Tactical. Oh, sunny days, calm waters, and then hideous rubber banding, latency, random kill inactions, and guess what? The DLC is basically unplayable. This is my On Point Tactical review of the Naval Strike DLC for Battlefield 4. Now I have done a longer video with Deathbringer, sort of talking about it. We were really just kind of yammering uselessly about how awesome Battlefield used to be. But let's bring it back to the issues with the DLC. I don't know if any of you know who Manny is on YouTube or PlayStation, but Battlefield, whatever. She recently submitted a video to the Pixel Enemy YouTube channel, and it was approved, whatever, and it was a very honest opinion, really, just on the Naval Strike DLC. Now, there were a couple slips here and there. I gotta say that the scripted commentary is definitely not my style, so personally I don't quite back that. But if we totally scoot over that part, and we get it down to the part that really matters, is like, as much as I would love to just say that I totally agree with the video, I'm sorry, I just can't. I 99.8% agree. Saying that you haven't played the DLC much was probably a small mistake, and making people think that you're making decisions far too quickly. That's my opinion on that situation. But let's talk about the DLC itself. Okay, so let's go and look at Battlefield 3 gameplay for a second. Run around with M16, destroying everybody, quick reloads, snappy responses from the netcode, and then Battlefield 4. Dying around garbage, through rocks, rubber banding like crazy. You can't hardly fly a helicopter, you get hit by a Stinger missile that tosses it sideways and plants you right into the earth. These are the sort of annoyances that come inherent with the Frostbite 3 engine and its terrible, terrible netcode. What can we do about this? Well, nothing. I have very little faith in DICE actually fixing the netcode by the end of Battlefield 4's life cycle, so I think it's pretty much something that the community is just going to have to accept and get over. Is this just garbage netcode where you die around objects more than you die out in front of objects, I guess. So there's that situation where you have the automatic disadvantages of Battlefield 4. Now, let's look at Naval Strike itself. Maps. Not the biggest fan. Okay, go back to the little teaser trailers before Battlefield 4 came out. Wasn't there a submarine with a propeller spinning up, sort of leading us to believe that eventually maybe we would have a sub, and if any DLC was going to bring it, it was going to be this one. You know what? I'm totally convinced now that they spent more development time creating a freaking Megalodon that comes at a buoy instead of actually working on designing Naval Strike. Why do I say that? Well, because Naval Strike never plays out well. It's supposed to be focused around boat combat, right? Well, unfortunately, on Conquest 64, a majority of the infantry, or really just a majority of the player base, always funnels into that center island where, guess what, you can't get to it with an attack boat. And unless you're running comms with a buddy, not very often, you're pretty much stuck just waiting in there on infantry, running into this like 30+ player just stalemate, really. And then you're pretty much stuck dying repeatedly, getting death medicked, and then grenade spam kills you, blah 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 blah. Now I venture down to the comments section of this video, and I see comments like, where do they find all these numbskull chicks to do these videos? Or, I've never been under the map and I've never experienced any rubber banding issues with Naval Strike or any Battlefield 4 maps or expansions. Are we actually not experiencing these things, or are we just trying to basically discriminate the producer? I'm gonna go with option B in this situation. Now, I don't mean to sound like a full-on hater of the entire DLC and the entire situation. Naval Strike is quite a good map for domination. Actually, all of them are pretty good on domination. Let's not think about Lost Islands. But that being said, though, just because of the latency, I can't quite support anything that comes with Battlefield 4. And another thing is that any premium user is going to have all 3 DLCs. So why do we play the same 4 maps over and over and over and over and over again, when we could be putting all 3 DLCs together into a 12 map rotation on these servers, and then like enjoy all of them maybe that we spent our $50 on, instead of having to back out of the server and then reset up our server browser? Seems like that would be a little bit more effective now, wouldn't it, DICE? So, DICE hate. This is totally coming back to the fact that if you hate on DICE at all, the community is going to pretty much just freak out and then give you dislikes automatically and then try to justify DICE or their product, which is freaking stupid. Alright, this is also going to go back to Level Cap Gaming. I'm sure every last one of you on my channel knows who he is and have watched his videos. In his Notcha Strike gameplay review, basically, or not Notcha Strike, Naval Strike review, he basically trashed on the netcode, therefore basically justifying that none of us are really happy with where Battlefield 4 is. So if anything, why shouldn't you be upset at Level Cap instead of all these smaller channels? Oh wait, that's because there's fanboyism. Ah yes, any opinion that Level Cap gives or Rival X Factor gives, oh, they're automatically right. Let's go back to April Fool's Day. Level Cap puts out a video along with Matimio and Rival X Factor, saying that the G36C has been updated to 800 rounds per minute and a 1.8 second reload time. And why would they just try to rebalance the weapon when they can take stats that they already know are really good and then copy paste them from Battlefield 3's M16A3? Guess what? About half of the community started using this G36, and because of the placebo effect, they thought that it was just wonderful. Just wonderful. And they really weren't doing much better. But they thought that they were just because Level Cap says so. Does this mean that I hate Level Cap? No, not at all. It's not his fault that people take this sort of upview, rather, towards him. You know, he just gives his very honest opinion, or in this case, is being a total troll. But it was April Fool's Day. You can't believe anything that anybody says, especially on the internet, especially on April Fool's Day. So it's a very, 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 very fickle situation. What's my honest review on Naval Strike? It rubber bands too hard. The map design really isn't that great. And I'll be honest, I think that it's a little bit of a fail on DICE's part that these DLCs pretty much changed nothing. Also in Manny's video, she mentioned that there's pretty much just copy-paste evolution or a submarine that falls, and pretty much there's no incentive to do it because it doesn't change the flow of the map. Totally agreed. Now we have these little like floodgates that we can shut, you know, that's kind of nifty, whatever. I really would just compare that to the Great Alls or whatever. On Siege of Shanghai, you can stick those poles up in the road, guess what, you get out, and then you lower them. It's not even a big deal. Or if you hit them with a tank full speed, you pretty much just skim right over the top of them. So what about that? What about the copy paste? I saw a lot of hate for what did you expect from a DLC? It's not an expansion pack. Really? What about Bad Company 2 Battlefield Vietnam expansion pack / DLC that was like what, $15 I think? That was epic. It totally changed the mechanics, the graphics got a bit of an update, and it changed the reload. It was beautiful. They reintroduced so many different mechanics from old school Battlefield that I really loved it. But it's just these things like that it's like, well, DICE has done it in the past, so why can't they pull it off now? I fear that it's getting to the point where DICE isn't really making all of the decisions anymore. I think EA is pushing them too hard, too fast to put out these DLCs and these games, so they wind up being completely unfinished products. That's my opinion on the matter. Does that mean that I hate Battlefield and want to go play Call of Duty? No, not at all. Just because I hate on Battlefield doesn't mean that I'm going to quit playing it. I play Battlefield 4 for the weapon balance, for the level design, for the destructible environment, for the dog tags. I play Battlefield because it's overall just a better game than Call of Duty, but it's not without its flaws. This circles right back around to Battlefield 3. Everybody was always upset at the M16A3 guys, or before the FAMAS got nerfed, you got upset at the FAMAS. All these different mechanics that DICE had to readjust for. And we've all been irritated at things like this in the past. Did that mean that we were going to play Call of Duty instead? Absolutely not. We just bared with it until DICE actually fixed it, which sometimes takes a couple months for them to catch up. But that being said, I don't think that it's really DICE's fault 100%. Like I say, I think EA is just pushing them too hard. I'm quite surprised that Battlefield isn't on a 3-year life cycle, or maybe just with another developer team working on it in between. I don't know, it's not really working. And the Frostbite 3 engine, bless its heart, really, it tries so hard, but they designed its netcode so horribly, which is kind of pathetic because they flopped on Battlefield 3's netcode early on, so you'd think that they would have learned from their mistakes. Honestly, I think the better way to do this would have been to stick to the Frostbite 2 engine, updated the graphics a little bit, and just left that snappier netcode. If you want to believe me that Battlefield 4 pretty much just lags and has severe latency and is kind of garbagey compared to Battlefield 3, play a game of Battlefield 3. Then load up Battlefield 4, play a game of Battlefield 4. Load up a game of Battlefield 3, play a game of Battlefield 3. You will see the difference, not only in the controllers if you're a console player, but you can just feel how much snappier the game itself is. So to bring this video to a close, since it's kind of on the long side now, Naval Strike DLC really isn't anything special. There really isn't much reason for me to play it beyond this other than the updated visuals, and they are more beautiful maps than most maps. I gotta say that I still like the visuals on Parasol Storm, but we just have so many recycled bits of foliage and colors, and the only real update is the color of the oceans, which is quite cool. It kind of makes you feel like you're in the Caribbean, but I just don't see that being much of an incentive to choose these maps over the standard ones. So that's been my honest review on Naval Strike and my small defense on the TheManny500. Go ahead and check our channel out. I will leave the link in the description down below, and I hope to see all of you on the battlefield.